I don't care how hard you fight me, Boblin. The fantasy news must flow! Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Fantasy News. I am your disheveled goblin host, Daniel Green, and today we are going to kick it on off with a rather large piece of publishing industry news, and that is because the merger between Simon & Schuster and Penguin Random House has officially been blocked. While I am still very happy to see this, I personally am of the opinion there needs to be more competition in the publishing space, not less. I also saw it coming. We saw so many big names coming out and pushing for this to be blocked. The fact that it has been done is no surprise to me. And hey, we even had the likes of Stephen King stepping into the space and saying, those are the exact words he used. Don't fact check me on that. He went before Congress and went, no. Mr. King, we brought you here today to testify on why we should block this merger. Why? No. And that just put me in a good mood for the news for the day, so let's go ahead and kick it on over to Christopher Paolini's cover reveal, where we've gotten the cover for his prequel for To Sleep in a Sea of Stars called Fractal Noise. And I usually like to link cover artists for people to check out their other work, but I found the artist that's credited with creating this and I cannot find their page anywhere. I don't know if they released their art under a pseudonym and this is using their real name or what, but if someone could link me the artist, I would really appreciate it. I feel genuinely dumb. I googled this name for a surprisingly long amount of time and saw a lot of faces. For those of you who haven't read To Sleep in a Sea of Stars, I stand by what I said where that story wasn't my favorite, but I really like the universe that's being set up and have high hopes for where that universe could go from where that first book left off. So absolutely, I'll be reading this prequel. And in more banging news, we have an official release date for The Last of Us show over at HBO, my personally most anticipated show right now that's in soon to be coming releases. But The Last of Us show will officially be premiering on HBO January 15th of next year. That's not even that far off! Right as the holidays wind down, I get to watch this, yeah! If I'm disappointed, alright, at least I enjoyed the build-up, and if I'm not, all the better! But that isn't actually the last piece of The Last of Us news that we've gotten, because also it has been announced that we will be getting a board game for The Last of Us franchise called The Last of Us Escape the Dark. Now, I have heard some people saying this is a tabletop RPG and some people saying this is a board game. Other people don't even know the difference, but it's apparently going to kind of be a hybrid of the two, at least for this article. So everyone's right, except for the people who don't know the difference. There's an important distinction. As is not uncommon in the board game industry now, this will be having its official launch on Kickstarter though, November 8th. I don't think I'll be backing this. I'll wait for reviews and then possibly try and get my hands on it depending on how it's received. And for those of you who are big enough board game fans to know board game companies, this one was developed by Themeborn, the team behind Escape the Dark Castle. But before we continue with the adaptation news, a quick word from today's sponsor, a Kickstarter I can attest the quality of because I have previous versions of their work, hosted by my cat.
Hello, foolish mortals. My name is Mako, and this video is brought to you by Wraithmarked Creative and their special edition release of The Sword of Kaigen, a book I personally can't read because I'm a cat, but my dad read it to me, and it's really that good. This special edition is coming to you in a Kickstarter launch that's already met its funding goal, so you're guaranteed to get the book if you back it. And I know a lot of you really like these special editions. Let me do an impression of you with a special edition book. And I think you'll do the same one with this one because it has a high quality offset printing, a cloth wrapped hardcover and foil stamped case. You're even going to get a signature from the author with a foil bookmark. Oh my God, that means the author touched it. It's got these pretty shiny silver edges. Oh, they're so shiny. And with art by Felix Ortiz and a color map, I think this is a pretty good deal. So if you'd like to back this Kickstarter and get a special edition of an indie book, an opportunity that's not too common, go ahead, check the link in the description down below. And I'll let you give me chin scratches the next time we see each other. I might bite you too, but that's a bite of love, don't worry. Okay, back to the ugly human who feeds me.
And yes, glory be to the Netflix gods! Sandman Season 2 has officially been greenlit over at Netflix. I was bamboozled once, lied to, deceived, but this time, It's really happening. And this leads me to asking you, the audience, where does Sandman rank in your current ongoing fantasy shows? We have a girth of them, is the phrasing I'm choosing for unfortunate reasons. And from House of the Dragon, Rings of Power, Wheel of Time, Witcher, Sandman, among the cacophony and all the other ones I didn't list, is it towards your top third? Is it number one, lower half? Let me know in the comments down below. I really want to see how Sandman is being received, because from what I've seen, it's trending positive. But while we're talking about changing mediums, let's go ahead and transition to talk about changing genres, because Peter Pan is going to be getting the Pooh Blood and Honey treatment. Yes, that's right, we will be getting a horror version of the Peter Pan story, and I am fully prepared for these Winnie the Pooh and Peter Pan horror movies to be objectively bad, and love every single second of their terribleness. And go. Okay, here is my quick pitch of what exactly this Peter Pan horror movie should be and how it would be absolutely terrifying while maintaining a schlocky horror aesthetic. Now, it focuses on some young children, obviously inspired by Wendy and whatever brothers' name are from the original book. They keep complaining to their parents that there is this old creepy monster man who's creeping into their room at night. It's terrifying. Their parents, though, don't believe them. Just a shared nightmare from maybe a horror movie they something or watched. It's not that bad. But, oh my god, it actually is, because we see that night when they go to their room, there's this guy whose like face keeps coming by the window, getting closer. Cheap horror jump scares, you hate it. But these kids, turns out, aren't the kids we expect them to be. They're not the titular ones from the book. They're just some random kids. No, it wasn't Wendy. Her name is something else that starts with a W, which is a schlocky horror movie. You don't really care. And we actually see these kids die. The real terrifying part comes when one of the kids manages to slip away from a second and we see what Tinkerbell is in this movie. Yes, she's a crazy, awful woman, but not in like the Harley Quinn way where everyone's like, oh, that's kind of awakening something in me. But instead, much more like The Ring, but Fae themed. And she like crawls out of something over at the kid, clearly ripping off the ring in a way that schlocky horror movies often do. And oh my god, it's just nightmare feel. You love to hate it. After these kids are murdered, you see the title card. Boom, Pan! You have to go with the minimal one. That's how you really sell it, baby. That's where the big numbers are. Now, we move on to meeting the actual titular kids who end up being haunted by the same Pan and the Tinkerbell. We start seeing little signs of like fairy dust around them and things. They've been targeted. Though we eventually see a man with a hook hand is hunting down Pan as well. He is the Van Helsing equivalent. Yes, we're flipping it. If Peter Pan's gonna be the villain, now Captain Hook is the good guy. The kids are working with the Hook vigilante to try and take down the evil Pan. The parents won't believe them. They're gonna be like, who's this Hook guy? He's the bad man. No, but in actuality, it's Pan and Tinkerbell that are the bad people. Eventually, all the other kids that Peter Pan has taken away in the night start coming in as well as like dead-eyed, undead kids, adding a third act twist where he has this like fleet of falling apart, mutilated children. Eventually though, after one of the kids, probably Wendy, not her little brother, ends up dying, Hook is able to land a fatal blow on Pan. Boom, he is done. And all of his little kid monsters die along with him, droid style. Daniel, that's a cop-out ending. It's not that thrilling. We've seen that before. Yes, but the actual like last killer twist at the end, we see in a post-credit scene that Tinkerbell is still alive, and she starts like birthing or hatching another Pan. Sequel bait, baby. That's where the big bucks are. Now we see that she's actually the mastermind, and Pan is just a vassal she acts through. Now there's going to be another one. And she wants vengeance, baby. That's how you make money in Hollywood! We're just in a funky, fresh time for fantasy adaptations. I think we can all agree to that to some degree, and further proof is the fact that we are getting yet another Scandinavian troll movie coming down the road. When an explosion in the Norwegian mountains awakens an ancient troll, officials appoint a fearless paleontologist to stop it from wreaking deadly havoc. And notably, this will have the same director as Tomb Raider. I actually really liked Troll Hunter. That was a surprisingly pretty damn good movie in my opinion. So this hyper-specific subset of action thrillers where we have giant trolls wreaking havoc is something that I will be paying attention to, because especially if the VFX hold up and the creature design's pretty decent, that alone can sell me on a project. And in the last piece of news, we are going to talk about the fact that we have finally gotten the full-length trailer for Avatar: The Way of Water. One of the highest grossing movies of all time is now getting its sequel. all of these years later. And it's really been interesting watching the internet kind of do a 180 on this franchise. For a long time, people just memed on it for its lack of memorable characters. Then eventually the conversation kind of shifted to be like, well, the first movie was really just a tech demo, and from that artistic perspective, the art of creating all these new CGI creations, it succeeded very well. It was a good endeavor. Now, it seems like more and more people have continued to take that idea and put it on their expectations for this movie. And as well, yes, the trailer looks incredibly expensive, but there seems to be some interesting angles to the story. I've actually seen a very positive reception from the comments in terms of how people are looking at this. Do I think it'll be the best story ever told? Not even close. Do I think it will be probably better than the first movie due to the amount of effort and time that's coming into it from James Cameron, as well as looking absolutely visually spectacular? Yeah, for that reason, I'm gonna go see it in the theater. I definitely want the theater experience for what they've been working on for the last, 10 years? And especially if they can offer some really interesting world-building elements and a story that doesn't feel so tired upon release, this could be the start of a revitalization for a franchise that we all forgot why we liked it and then liked it again. But this has just been your latest episode of Fantasy News. Like and subscribe if you have not already, and check out today's sponsor, Wraithmarked Creative, in the pinned comment in the description down below if you're interested in a special edition of Sword of Kaigen. Have a good one, y'all, and thank you for continuing to support me and Fantasy News here on the channel. I'm never not grateful for it. Have a good one. Peace.